I could, do all that stuff.
Hello, 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 everyone. We are live for this Savvy Entrepreneur Spotlight with Brandon Neely, business activist entrepreneur, and he's going to take us through his journey as an entrepreneur. Hey, Brandon.
Hey, how's it going?
Going pretty good. How's everything in your world?
Oh, we're good, busy. I mean, I don't know if you guys know this. We are expecting a baby, and so being an entrepreneur and being a parent, I'm following your footsteps. And how do you do both? How do you be an entrepreneur while also, I don't know, being a parent, juggling that stuff. So I'm really excited for that phase in our business or in our life or whatever you want to call it.
Awesome. It's one of the best things ever, but it definitely is not for the faint of heart.
Right.
Especially with as busy as you and Amanda are, it's gonna be a journey, and she's a really crucial part in your business. So, how are you gonna manage with her being away for a little bit?
I think we'll manage. We work from home a lot, so I'm not sure how it'll work being being parents, but also working from home and all that kind of stuff. So I think I'll still be, we'll it's like that whole thing that Marie Forleo says, everything is figure outable.
Absolutely.
And so we'll figure it out. We did it in the past, we'll do it in the future. And you just say, well, how do we engage this as part of our business, part of our life, all that stuff. So
awesome. So is Amanda gonna hop on today? Are you on a solo mission? I don't think I've ever seen you really just go solo.
I mean, I do solo too. We do our separate things somewhat. Like she'll go Facebook Live, I'll do Facebook Live. We'll do it together in our podcast. But she's a little more camera shy because being 8 months pregnant than others or than normally. So that's
I get it.
new thing because she's like, I don't want to be behind the camera as much, even though she did do a Facebook Live on a Wednesday in her just not pajamas, but regular clothes. No makeup, none of that stuff. So
oh, she's so brave.
Yeah. So anyway, I think it's fun to be doing it as a couple. I think that's always a challenge, being in business together. We've done that for years, and we'll just, we also have our mother-in-law that lives with us, and we have other aspects of our business that we take care of. So we have 3 people in the house that will help raise
that makes all the difference.
So as we're working with clients, we might hand off the baby to the mother-in-law to do whatever needs to be done, or take turns, or who knows.
That makes all the difference in the world. Awesome. So let's go ahead and dive into your business, your journey of being an entrepreneur. It's so cool. Your camera is like super, super sharp. I'm so jealous. I bought a new one, but I haven't. Yeah, it looks really, really good.
I tried. I use, what is this? HD 1080p, little Logitech thing.
Nice. I bought mine, but it's still not even hooked up yet. My mic's not hooked up. I was all fancy and did that little video to show everyone, and I haven't had the time to hook anything up. So, we're still using the old stuff. But hey, it works.
It worked, yeah.
And we're here. Cool. So start with us. Tell us a little bit about your journey as an entrepreneur. What made you decide to hop into being an entrepreneur? You and Amanda together, separately?
Yep. So my wife and I, we are actually we went on down a not a technology route where a lot of people are entrepreneurs in their own home, um, or doing that kind of route. We did not go down that route. Our
Mm.
route was, um, and our faith was very active, or still very active,
Nice.
and looking at, like, as we were building our business, what does it mean to um, incorporate faith into it? And part of
Yeah.
our challenge was, um, we were looking around and we saw coffee. Coffee is the second most widely traded commodity in the world. Americans, the number one consumer, and the poorest countries are often coffee growing countries. And so,
Right.
and then building
Crazy.
community is a big part of what we do. And now we're moving into this virtual community, which is kind of strange to me. But um, we saw, like, community is where people come together and where things really happen. Historically, coffee shops really were revolutionary. Actually, were revolutionary in
Yeah.
um, in the history of our world, and in where things were planned and things like that. And so, building that kind of cheers environment was something we really wanted to do. And also looking at doing justice, doing ethical economics at the core was another thing. So we
Mm.
launched that business. We did this. I mean, it's insane. Like, we did it after 2008,
Oh,
and we were
wow.
very idealistic. We had a lot of student debt, a lot of big ideas, and realizing how much it costs to run a business. It is, or just even start a business. This doesn't mean running a business that's profitable. Just to get the doors open for a brick and mortar business is a lot of money. Uh,
Mm.
And so in that time frame, we had to end up taking out a lot of credit cards, a lot of all this other kind of stuff to get the doors open. And then in banks, they don't give you money. This is crazy, unless you have history. Um,
Right.
you
And you
can't.
don't need it, right?
Yeah, but you need money to start to develop history,
Right.
all this other stuff, and then they do this whole thing of, well, you can get a credit card at 0% interest for 6 months, which sounds great, right? Um, until 6 months goes down the line and you realize it takes a lot longer to acquire a customer than just 6 months. Um, just building the brand, just that takes a lot of effort. Um,
Absolutely.
that's before you even open the doors, and that was for a brick and mortar. I think it's the same for online businesses and marketing. It still takes time to build your infrastructure, and so that's how we started. And we did this for 7 years, um, and it's Overflow Coffee Bar in the city of Chicago. Um,
Mm.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. But recently we sold it because of having a baby means life changes. I really, it's kind of illegal to bring a baby behind the bar, to, help
Makes
start
sense.
and all that stuff. And so we're like, well, what does that mean for us? How do we transition that? And so, um, the funny thing is, we gave up um, 7 children to have one, because of having staff.
Right.
So I feel like, well, we kind of know what it means to be a parent in some aspect, because of having staff is um, a bit of, you're the mom and pop of the business, and you got to, like, handle those things, and they come at you with challenges, and they're more teenagers. I mean, they actually are in that age. Um, so anyway, it was a lot of fun, but we transitioned out of that actually only 2 months ago. So, yeah.
Wow. So what was the biggest challenge of, besides just coming to the realization of wanting to sell your baby after 10 years, What was the biggest challenge in selling that business, that brick and mortar business?
Well, I think one is the partnerships, having good partnerships, and it was a challenge. Like we didn't control the space, so like that was a difficulty because we rent and we've created a whole brand around that, and so that's where money really comes into play, right? Because as you're renting, as you don't have as much control of what happens, you know.
Absolutely.
Landlord, like if you even rent a house, your landlord can say, well, time for you to move.
Bye-bye. Right.
And you built your whole brand around that. Makes it difficult. And so that was a challenge. And also starting from zero. Remember, we started with a lot of debt and student debt. And to build that up, entrepreneurship, it is difficult. I shared this article that let me just tell you some of the stats, which I had that was it? The reason 82% of small businesses fail, and the reason is because of cash flow, because they don't have money to make it through the year, and then if banks don't help you in that, you run the risk of closing, and so like in those course of years, I don't know if you're in the Midwest, right?
I'm on the East Coast.
East Coast. Well, it's snowing a lot there right now.
Yes, it was.
We had polar vortex, then we had all kinds of other winter crazy storms.
Yeah.
Some flooding that happened, freak accident. And
right, the coffee shop, right?
Yeah,
flooded.
That was crazy. And so if you don't have this kind of set up and knowing like, oh yeah, summer's going to be great, but winter's going to be horrible. How do you get through winter? And that cash flow as a small business is very difficult. Like you put in all the product or you work towards fulfilling a client's needs and they don't pay you until after the product is delivered, right? That's
right.
usually how it goes. And then you have to send them multiple invoices to get them to pay you. And you're like, dude, I just want to pay my staff or pay myself.
Right. Important.
And so that is a real thing. And I know because I've experienced it myself and seeing like a lot of entrepreneurs don't oftentimes know their numbers. They don't know their how much it costs to get a lead, convert it to a customer.
Right. The customer acquisition cost.
Yeah, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So that was a challenge. But then being able to even sell our business and not close it, I think was a huge, huge plus for us. Like, I mean, we didn't sell it for a lot. It's a coffee shop. Like, it's not like it's a huge moneymaker. That's in food service in general, I think. But 2/3 of the
Absolutely.
cost goes to the product before you even get it in the door, and then you have to pay for taxes and who knows what else. But again, I see why we're in this is entrepreneurship is the lifeblood of our world usually, and people want to make a difference, and they also I think should make money, and so and I feel like there's a lot of entrepreneurs who are out there hustling, and they're not bringing in the revenue that they'd like to see, and so that's why coaching has helped for us. Having coaches that are there when things hit the fan, because they will.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you've experienced that, but I know I have. So anyway, if you want to share that, there was that cash flow article that I had.
Yes.
I'm trying to see if I can see comments or anything. But
okay. Oh, you probably. I don't think you can.
um,
I just shared the article.
yeah, so if there's any questions too, let me know. I would love to answer them. But yeah, that was one thing. And for me, I look at like, again, entrepreneurship is hard. When we had cash flow problems for us, that affected our marriage, that affected all areas of life. And so why having a coach is important, I think, is because, oftentimes it's not about the how do we convert a client. It's how's your life? How's things going on the back end?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How's your marriage? Like those kind
How's your marriage?
Are super, super important. And so that's why we went into this business activist entrepreneur, because it is hard building your voice. And there's so many competing voices out there, like a million Facebook groups, Facebook, everything. And so how do we differentiate ourselves? How do we have a tribe of people that get us and help us move forward and care beyond just, hey, let me have my coffee. I don't care that you're, went through a family crisis or things like that.
Absolutely. So let us know a little bit about how you went from this coffee shop, which I already know is a little bit more than just a coffee shop, right?
Yeah.
It's about community and, helping the world become a better place. So how did that push you into business activist entrepreneur? What's that about?
So, well, one is, so when you're an entrepreneur, especially when you have a brick and mortar or you've been doing it a while, people come to you, and you've probably gotten this a bunch of times, which I hate this when people do it, is, can I just pick your brain? I hate when people do that. Don't do that. If you're an entrepreneur, wanting
Don't
do that. Like, actually provide value to that person. We would get people. Can I just pick your brain? I just want to know how to run a coffee shop business without going through the pain that you went through or any of that. I'm like, no, that's not the way it works. Like, it should be a little more equitable on both ends. And so I went to a event at a college, and the professor is a teacher of entrepreneurship, and did a free mentoring session or something. We talked to the class, and the teacher, entrepreneurship teacher, said, "I love what you guys are doing." And said something like, "I do this because I can't do what you do." And I was like, "Wait, so you're teaching people how to be entrepreneurs? You're teaching all of this stuff, and you're bringing me in for free, and you're going to give me a coffee mug, which, a coffee shop owner doesn't need a coffee mug. We have plenty, and say, like, I'm just going to teach my class, and people are paying a lot of money in education to learn how to be entrepreneurs." And so for us, we went in and we're like, all right, so this person is asking us to teach for free, makes a lot of money doing this, but she's never actually done it. And that kind of got us to saying, well, there needs to be more practitioners out there who are teaching, not or showcasing, not just going to college and having a expert who's never actually been there. So anyway, that led us into this idea, and then the coaching aspect was a big part. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, they say those who can't teach, right?
Yeah.
That reminds me with the professor, he's like, I can't do what you do.
Yeah.
So he's teaching, and that's like when the email that I sent out to invite the savvy entrepreneurs, it was like, who better to learn about being an entrepreneur from than an entrepreneur? Especially someone who has as much experience as you guys in the virtual space and also in the brick and mortar space. And tell us a little bit more about the activist piece of it all.
Yeah, so I think, well, one is the coffee aspect was for us. We did it because of knowing the second most widely traded commodity in the world, knowing all of that aspect of it. And we are activists first and before business people. This idea of people and planet. One thing I also learned is a lot of people who are entrepreneurs, they go for it to make a difference, and they don't look at profit. And so that's where I'm transitioning a bit more, but now. But like looking at, we went into being an entrepreneur because we wanted to change the world. That was our slogan, changing the world one cup at a time.
Love it.
However, we also learned we need to actually get paid. I had met with our attorney at one point, and we're like, hey, we're almost profitable. And we're like, or we're almost like debt free. We're at this stage. Yeah. And he's like, okay, that's great. How much are you paying yourself? And we're like, well, hey, you didn't hear us. We're almost like debt free, and this is awesome, and everything is break even. And he's like, yeah, but how much are you paying yourself? And we're like, well, not that much. And we realized people, planet, and profit is a big part. So the triple bottom line is what we talk about. And if you're not profitable, you are looking. You're gonna you're gonna have to close at some point. If you're not making money, if you're not supporting yourself and all those areas, then it's not sustainable long term. And so that was a big wake up call. But really, we're activists. We look at, how we treat people. My staff were part of that, and all that area. There's so much that business can change the world as we're moving into starting our whatever we're doing. We don't have to do just nonprofit work. I think nonprofit work is great, but this idea for me is going upstream. I don't know if you've heard this term before. So oftentimes in nonprofit world, we're downstream and we see all these people dead in the waters, right? So this idea, and so we save them when we say let's resuscitate them, let's help them out. However, business is this in a different place where we can go upstream, right, and say, why are they in the water in the first place? How did they get here? How did they get in this place? And how can we overcome them? And so I think business is a big way of going upstream to help prevent those challenges in the first place. And so that's part of our activism. Looking upstream and saying, well, there's other areas that cause brokenness, that cause poverty. And we can be at a place of building a business and building an infrastructure that changes those things.
Absolutely.
But also we got to pay ourselves in the process. That's what I learned as well. So.
Absolutely. So now you're bringing up this pay thing, right? So a big part of this conversation is about the financial aspect of being an entrepreneur. So, you started with the brick and mortar business, and then you guys, said, okay, we see a need for entrepreneurs to be trained and coached. So you started offering your services to help other entrepreneurs grow into where you guys are now. And then another need arose, right? You saw that people really needed some guidance when it came to the financial aspect of business and being an entrepreneur. So tell us a little bit about the services that you offer now, why it's important for entrepreneurs, and any valuable tips you can drop on us, as far as moving forward.
Oh, for sure. So I have a gift for you guys too, though. It's I think like 101 profitability strategies or something like that. I forget the name, but really like looking at, there's so many ways to be profitable. There's so many ways to grow your business, and it's really up to you. But oftentimes we're like, oh, it's just this one area, or we have another need or product or whatever. But sometimes it's lowering costs. Sometimes it's increasing costs. Sometimes it's having more staff, or building marketing or knowing your numbers, really.
Knowing your numbers. This is super important.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs as well, don't understand their numbers. In order to make payroll, right, you got to have customers coming in. And if you're not tracking how many customers are coming in or how many acquisitions are happening or all that stuff, there's so much that goes into it. And I look at, from a financial point of view, oftentimes I posted this in my Facebook, a lot of times we put our head in the sand and pretend like everything's okay. And it's not. We like to feel like it is, but we're running up credit card debt, and the credit card companies own the business, not us. And that's a way a lot of businesses, I think, operate.
Robbing Paul, what is it? Robbing Peter to pay Paul, kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think that is true. And for us, what happened was we ended up connecting with our financial advisor, which again, you don't think your financial advisor is going to be like one of your best friends or people, the top people that you are so glad you met and worked with. Like, you know, I think about some of the best decisions I made was marrying my wife, you know, following God that way, having a kid, and meeting our financial advisor. You know, and I'm like, and so we went through a strategy, a process with him. This was about 3 years into our business, or 2 years in, and really started. And we were smart about our numbers. We were not like, I would say, nah, we're not morons in that. But some people are like, they don't know what they don't know. And that's why a coach is important to have somebody to say, you know, sounding board and saying, you know, what's this? And you start measuring what counts. And so meeting our financial advisor, we were able to take care of all of our business debt, student debt, and sell our business in 7 years, which is pretty amazing. I think because most businesses, again, that stat is 82% fail because of cash flow, and they 79% fail because they have not very much money to start with, and so we met him and we were able to put together strategies to help us go into a positive and pay ourselves and look at. Oftentimes, as entrepreneurs go, they steal from their retirement or they steal from other areas of life to fund this thing that they're like, I'm going to make it big in this. So they take from this area to fund this, and it's kind of gambling in some aspect.
It is a gamble.
It's a huge one. And then they end up being distraught, they end up divorced, or who knows what. And for me, I'm like, well, let's look at the whole of life. Let's take calculated risks, paying off debts in the current, but also I'm going to have a kid someday, or I am, and not someday. And about
right, like in T minus.
but one thing I know is in 18 years, this child possibly might go to college. And people think about, well, college, it's not a oops, that just happened, snuck up on me. I know in about 18 years, that's probably going to happen. And I know in about 25 years, I'm going to hope to retire. And so, like, how do we set up plans and strategies to make sure that I'm set up for that area, as well as my future self, as well as our kids' future self, and all this. And so, while building our business, and I found the strategy through our advisor, and I kept sending him clients all the time, and I was like, how do I do what you do? And so then I got trained and licensed and all of that, which is strange to be. I mean, again, we're coffee shop people, brick and mortar coffee shop. To be a financial advisor is weird in some aspect. I'm like, really, this is what I'm doing? But we know our numbers. We actually did it. And so to be in that place to help other entrepreneurs, that's why I'm stepping into this realm. Because if 82% of businesses fail, that's not just, this isn't a percentage, right? These are people who have dreams and aspirations and kids and futures and all of this. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to look at our stats as people, as not just a number, but as a person.
Absolutely.
And so for me, I'm like, well, we learned something in this. Let's help. Let's be an asset to them. And so that's why we're in this world, or why we're doing this financial advising. And I think there's a lot of bad financial advisors out there. Just like there's a lot of bad coffee shops. I won't name what they are, but they're big. I mean, I'm an independent coffee shop owner, ethical and all that. But so for me, I'm like, we need some people that are in there that understand those things. Not that we're perfect in it, but knowing the pain and knowing that I want to bring that number down. And I want to see people like operate in a different way of thinking. Entrepreneurs are really good at thinking differently, oftentimes about their business, but they don't think differently about their money.
Absolutely.
And for me, I look at saying, don't do what the bank tells you to do. Do what the bank does. And the banks tell us to, do a line of credit. Keep doing a line of credit to fund your business. So eventually they come and say, give me my money back. And then you close your business. And I'm like, well, the banks are operating in a different system. Let's do what the banks do. And so I learned that, and really helping others in that realm is our passion. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Navari says 82% is a scary number. He didn't realize that the percentage was so high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it is super scary. And again, these are people who are putting their passions on the line. And oftentimes, again, I look at, for us, as doing this for 7 years. I went into running a business because I liked coffee. Not because I like marketing, not because I liked looking at P&L statements and all that stuff, and not because I like to give Uncle Sam a lot of tax money, because that's what happens when you have a brick and mortar. They like to come and take at least half, I feel like. And then if you don't fill out those paperwork, they come after you and start like penalizing you and all this other stuff.
Absolutely.
And so that's why it's important to have good coaches and mentors, because you went into business because you wanted to create this thing, not because you wanted to be a great marketer. I mean, yours is more in the marketing realm, but a lot of people are not in that realm, and that's why they need your services, because that's what they're lacking in, right? They went in to be tailors, or they went in to be, like for me, a coffee shop owner, and so they are deficient in those areas. And that's why having a great accountant is really, really important. Having a great financial advisor that knows those things, and as you grow into that, it can really help you minimize that risk factor. I mean, again, 82% fail because they thought they could just, what is it? If you build it, they will come.
Right.
Right. That's not the way it works.
Absolutely.
You've got to get out there and hustle and market. And there's so many voices out there. There's so many competing things, and you've got to learn how to market. And that's again why we started our business activist entrepreneur. That's why we're financial advisors. Again, weird. But again, I look at, hey, your kid, I think you have two of them, right?
I do. Two little girls.
So they're gonna go to college one day. So like, how do you prepare for that while also growing your business at the same time, and residual income or whatever else could happen. So anyway, that's
Absolutely.
a long-winded answer.
So I have another. So Jamila's quoted you, and it says, "Don't do what the banks tell you to do. Do what the banks do."
Yep.
Yep. So I have a question for you. So I don't want you to give away all your nuggets, right? Because we already talked about that. As an entrepreneur, you're in business, and people should, value your services enough to pay for them. But if you could choose, right? But if you could choose the top three valuable tips for our community that you can give away, what would they be?
Well, one is the 101 profitability strategies that I gave you. So there's a big tip. So just go to the link. I think you shared it.
Not yet, but I will.
Yes, that is again, we looked at, I mean, it's overwhelming because there's so many ways to be profitable. And so really download that one and figure out like what area are you going to grow in this time and how are you going to elevate that. So knowing that, get mentors in your sphere and pay those mentors. I think that's super important. Like, again, this idea of what you pay for grows kind of an idea. And so you want to pay for those kind of services, those people that are in your life, that you want to put that into your budget, if you will. And so like find those weaknesses and connect with those kind of people. So find mentors. They don't have to be they're not in your business. And oftentimes it's good that they're not your customer so much as they're your mentor, your guide in those areas. Find those things. And then know your numbers. Because this is your business, not theirs. This is, they're just going to ask, what's this? And don't expect your accountant to just run your business for you.
Absolutely.
I mean, you ever watch those, like, The Profit? And
Shark Tank, all that.
And all of this area. This is what Marcus Lemonis says. Like, know your numbers. And it amazes me. Like, when people come on these shows, I mean, I've seen these shows. And I'm like, wait, how did they not know? Did they watch one episode?
I know. Before you signed up for the show, did you watch the show? Kevin O'Leary's going to crucify you.
And the reason he asks is because if you want to get an investment, these people are going to ask you the same things because they're not going to invest in something that you don't know. And as you know your numbers, that's like metrics for you. It's like conversion rates versus Facebook ad. Because you can spend a lot of money on Facebook and just keep it going down
keep feeding the machine.
Yeah, and if it's not converting,
you're wasting money.
Yeah, then you're wasting money, and so you have to know those numbers, and so that's I think important, and know those metrics, and build a plan that works with that. Like for me now in this new realm, it's like, how do I have financial consultations, and then those are going to lead to clients, and those are going to lead to what I mean. Revenue. And so if you know those stages and you measure those stages, that's going to build into a healthy business. I guess know your pipeline. Does that make sense?
Awesome. No, it absolutely does. So you said know your numbers, get a mentor. Those
Mhm.
are really, really important. So I posted and pinned the 101 strategies for entrepreneurial profitability. And then I also just posted the first steps, to start on your journey with the business activist entrepreneur. And now I'm going to read back a couple of the, everyone on, there's like an application process, right, for the savvy entrepreneur. So I'm going to read one of the questions from your application. I know you haven't seen it in a while, but it
Oh, I
says
know.
if
It's
you,
been
it's
a
been
good
a
while.
while. Yeah, if you could pass one piece of advice to yourself when you started your business, what would it be? And you said, I would say two things. One, take care of yourself. If you're not healthy physically, emotionally, and more, you cannot overflow to others. Love that. As entrepreneurs, we often put ourselves last, but we need to find balance.
Mhm.
That was one. And number two was spend more time and money marketing. If it will pay off in the end, it may be counterintuitive, but getting people to know you is key. Once you do that, really wow the customer, and they will be your best buyers and best marketing department you can imagine. But you really have to invest in that heavily in the beginning.
Yep.
Perfect. So those are the two pieces of advice. Would you add anything to that list?
Well, I would share my story of why the health thing. And this is also, we're going to share some of this in our next podcast, what we wish we knew when we started, which is the next podcast that we have not, uh, we've not taped it yet, or whatever you call it.
I know, right? Oh, you just showed your age right there. Just aged yourself.
Um, but yeah, so we're actually going to do a podcast on this topic. But from a health standpoint, I remember this girl from a staff person. I'm pretty sure she was stealing from us. She would not show up to work like
Oh.
every week. I was like, all right, this person's not going to show up, or they are going to show up, or who knows what's going to happen. And I was drinking a lot more coffee. I love coffee, but I was drinking a lot more coffee to keep up. And I would, again, if you have a staff person and they are um, they're not, and they're a liability, not an asset, you got to cut the liability. And so firing people, I think, is part of being an entrepreneur. Be okay with firing people, especially if they're like, again, I'm an activist. So I knew this person had a family. I knew all of this, and it was hard. But I tell you what, I went to the hospital for high blood pressure and all of this other stuff. And I was like, this place is killing me. What is going on?
Mm.
Literally fired the girl, and my blood pressure went back to normal that day.
Wow.
Um, and so, like, for me, I was like, man, this is not going to happen. I'm in charge of this, and knowing that aspect. Um, and if you're dead, remember your business doesn't go forward. Um, you know what I mean? So that maybe that's the other 18% of why they fail is they died of a heart attack or something. I don't know. And hopefully that doesn't happen, but like that's a reality. And so like as an entrepreneur, you're always going, and you got to make white space for those areas of health, like going to the gym. I try and go every day. Uh,
Nice.
and I have no excuse because it's right down that. Um, and then what was the other one? Yeah, that was a big one for us. Um, yeah, to know, take care of yourself. Um, take care of your marriage. That's another aspect. Like put that into your calendar. We have date night
Mm.
every week. We'll see how that works in the future, but I mean, we will make sure we have that in.
It does get a little bit more difficult, I will tell you.
Yeah. But at least you put that into your calendar and try and make sure, like, spend the money to have a person there or whatever. I have a mother-in-law that I'm gonna.
That's the best, honestly. You're so lucky. Finding someone that you trust is the hardest part of getting back out the house.
Oh, I think for sure. And so creating those places for health is super, super key.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then
That'll
what?
get a little bit more challenging too.
Yeah, I think, and you just roll with it. But you gotta, again, what you measure is what the results you'll get. So
Absolutely.
I'm a lot healthier because I go to the gym. If I don't, then it doesn't happen. Um, just those, just I mean, some of it sounds so
Cliche, so common sense,
like
right?
it is.
Drink water. Okay. Like when Karen came on, that was one of her things. It was like hydrate, hydrate. And everyone's like, oh yeah, that's common sense. But then the reality is how many of us get enough water in on a daily basis,
Yeah,
you know?
I got mine right here.
Oh good.
So
I have a cup from the enemy actually. I was drinking my
uh,
coffee.
um,
But
let's see. What
mine
did he
says,
say?
mhm. Great advice. I had to learn the hard way to take care of myself, set boundaries, and time off to juggle work, family, and leisure. And Devari actually was just asking about that in our workshop. Workshop, we have those accountability workshops, and he was asking about that last week. And so that's a good question. You know, as entrepreneurs, how do you really how are you able to balance, you know, entertainment, family, work, business, all of those things? In your experience, what's been your secret to finding balance in it all?
Well, when we run a brick and mortar business, right? My staff all
No such
know
thing.
that Friday was date night. And
Oh,
so you just like you want to have those meetings with the client, um, create those meetings with yourself,
love
um,
it.
and put that in the calendar. Like, I mean, again, if you just like you're measuring how many leads you're talking to and how many like all of that area, doing that same thing in your own calendar. Like I use Acuity, and I still live by the calendar, right? And that's a good thing, actually. So we put those things into the calendar and create that white space. And then as you're booking appointments, people don't see that you're going to the movies to watch Black Panther or whatever. Uh,
Right?
they don't need to see that. They'll see it on your Facebook when you post about it. Um, but and then they actually like that because they they see, oh, that's a person, and that they actually put that into theirs. You know, if you're always available all the time, um, then maybe that brings
Absolutely.
and there's also this idea when you're a startup entrepreneur, we it's the same in like in church environments and church planting. Live like you've never lived before for the first few
Mm,
years, knowing that you will not continue that pace of life because you can't. Uh,
mm,
and so, like, we had like a 2 year window of we're going to live like this, and then you build in those things and milestones and track those things. Um, so, I would love for your guests. Um, you know, we do free financial consultations. Have that
awesome.
link for a 20-minute conversation and then do our process. It's absolutely free. But again, as you know your numbers financially and those other places, that's going to help serve your business in so many ways. And I've seen strategies that work. And I think that link was, I don't remember what the link was,
Is that the first step link?
that first steps. So
Awesome.
you can schedule with either one of us if you like females um, to talk to over males. You can book with Amanda. So we have everything set. We're going to go off on April
Yay.
22nd, but
Okay.
everything could shift. So who knows what our calendar is going to look like any day now.
Awesome. And just a reminder, or just kind of like to bring anyone, did you say free? Yes, no, right? He said
Yeah,
free, right?
free
And we all need
free
it.
financial consultation, like a full. I look at a 30,000 foot view of your finances, where you want to go, and we ask questions like, what's your hopes and dreams? And it's more than just looking at your numbers. It's looking at where do you want to go in life, and how do we create a roadmap to get there? Because if you don't have a roadmap, we're just wandering around. That's why we create business plans, right? It's a living document that you look at, and you have a roadmap, and it changes as soon as but if we don't figure out our goals and where we want to go, we won't reach them.
Absolutely.
So I think doing that, even regardless of if you go the next steps, it's huge.
Awesome. So Brandon, we are getting close to the end. So did you have any piece of advice? You're giving lots of advice, any tips, or just like anything that you wanted to leave outside of this awesome free consultation with the other savvy entrepreneurs? You're very active in the group. You have a podcast. You share your links with us all the time, so we get lots of value from you being a part of our community. So thank you first and foremost. But is there anything that you just kind of say, based on your experience in the group, this is what I think you guys need, or a little helpful tool?
Well, I think part is like just step out, like in sales. There's a lot of people who are like, we're all like scrappy kind of things, and that idea. But you got to go out and ask. You got to go out and find those things like doing this Facebook Live with you as we do this, and it's a small community. But as you step into those things, other doors open, and go and make the ask. Don't wait for people to find you. Go find them.
All right. Oh, I love that.
Go share why your thing is important, and find. I guess part of it is, don't go and say, "Hey, look how awesome I am," but ask them and what is agitating them, and if you're in the right environments, your solution will probably help solve that problem. And so going at it and really listening to your clients and your potential clients, and serving them, but also don't just do free all the time. Free is great. Free is awesome. But I think sometimes free is bad for business. I wrote a post a long time ago where everybody wants free stuff. Don't be that person who's like, "Can I get free samples?" Go to Costco and just get free samples. Anything. That's not helpful.
I love that. I love that. It's like, especially because we're speaking to a community of entrepreneurs, right? Business owners. So the reality is, if you're in business, you expect people to pay for your services, or you would like for them to. So have that same courtesy for your fellow entrepreneurs. It's great. The community is all about getting information, and it's a resource that's there. But then when you're ready to implement or take things to the next level,
Yeah, and invest in those places. I know when it comes to Facebook ads and those kind of things, you're the person I'm reaching out to on that. You know what I mean? Like in that Facebook pixel thing that you're doing, like $50, that's a big deal. Like, most people don't know. I mean, my wife is a millennial and she taught me all that stuff. But like again, it's the same idea of tracking. And if you can find somebody that knows, like, that pixel thing is huge. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is like so many people are coming to your site, and you're not. No, you don't even have. If you don't have that on your site,
absolutely, it's a fail.
Yeah, and so like that's a huge thing. And so like invest in those things. Invest in your future. Know your numbers. That's why I'm in this weird financial world now.
Yay! And we appreciate it, honestly, Brandon, because what you've done is you've taken the needs of your customers and your fellow entrepreneurs, and now you're providing a service that we all really do need. Yeah. So thank you for that. And Amanda, thanks, Amanda.
She's a lot better of a coach in that area than I am. But we work together a lot and say, how do we help this person get to their goals, and how do we yeah. So having a team is important. Is and like very
Awesome.
team, whatever. I think you have what's her name?
Jamila?
Yeah, like and
Oh yeah.
like she does a lot for you.
Huge. Oh my gosh. I don't know how we would survive without her. And she does even more than you all see. So we would love Jamila.
I think you should interview her. You probably already have.
Oh, that's a great idea, Jamila. We're gonna interview you. How do you feel about that?
Uh-oh.
Thank Brandon for this one. She smiles.
I think that would be a great idea. So like
Yeah.
and it's more than just you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Brandon. Guys, I want to tell everyone because again, we will have the replay available. We we leave it on Facebook. We put an article on our website. We do put it in the inner circle, so it's available many places. But the reality is that Brandon and Amanda are expecting their first baby. So if you want to take advantage of this complimentary free financial consultation, I would say do it, reach out to them within the next 1 week, really 1 to 2 weeks. So that way you can get, the most benefit by working with Brandon and Amanda because, she's awesome. She's an awesome 50% of this package right here.
Oh, for sure. And we will, if people catch it later, we might have a few weeks off. But Acuity is awesome because I can lock that off and you'll see whenever that happens. And if we happen to, if you schedule something and I happen to have to move it because, life happens, like literally.
Literally alive.
And then I hope you will be gracious with me. But again, this is a free thing, and we're really wanting to get out there and help entrepreneurs like know your numbers and help you in setting a stage, not just for your business now, but throughout your whole future. So. That's
awesome. Well, thank you, Brandon. Thanks everyone for joining us. Before we kick off, does anyone have any final questions for Brandon? We kind of ran out of time. So if you do, Brandon, what's the best way for them to reach? You don't have anything to do? Not yet. You have a couple about a month before your whole life is different. Brandon, how do people reach you?
I am at businessactivistentrepreneur.com. You can look up Brandon at businessactivistentrepreneur.com. That's my email address. And then that whole first steps is on there. We are going to be kind of rebranding our site. It's more on the coaching side, not the finance side yet. We'll be rebranding some during our what do you call that? Leave?
Maternity leave.
We might do some of that. I don't know. We'll try. We'll see what happens.
Wishful thinking, my friend.
So businessactivistentrepreneur.com, but really email me.
Absolutely.
Email me, phone call, I don't care.
Awesome. And you can also find them in the Savvy Entrepreneur group and hit him up on Facebook via IM because he's 90% of the time he's available. He's awesome for that.
I try as best I can. I've been a little MIA because of doing some training stuff and, selling a business takes a lot longer than people think. So,
I can imagine.
Out of commission in some areas, but now we're back, kind of. So.
Awesome. Thanks. Please tell Amanda again. The community says congratulations and congrats to you as well.
You'll see a picture when it comes, and then I have a cool thing. I think Blake might be part of this group. If not, I'll invite him. He is our entrepreneur baker, Black Rose Pastries in Chicago. And we are doing the baby reveal through a cake. I have no idea. He knows what it is. And so we'll be filming the reveal this Saturday at the baby shower.
Oh, exciting. Please keep keep us posted. We
Oh,
love
yeah,
babies.
there'll be a video, and then I'll take a picture of some sort.
Awesome.
I'm not
Thanks
going to do
again,
that.
guys.
It takes tons of pictures of the baby,
Yes.
but
Yeah, you will be. Trust me.
maybe
You always say, I'm not going to be that parent. That was me. I'm not going to be that parent. I'm never posting my kids to Facebook. I lied. I totally
I've seen them
lied.
a few times. You're right.
Exactly. They're all over the place. Oh, thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you, Auntie Karen, Marlene, Navari, everyone who joined. And
Don't forget,
thank you,
hit me up.
Brandon. Hit them up. All right, guys. Bye.
Have a good one. Is it good?